Coach Steve, one of the things that happened last week, I think it was on Thursday or Friday, our team was playing against another team, and they had like 4 coaches out there, and it was like, those 4 coaches, it's like they were saying the same thing to every guy, like all the time, and it was a lot of like, when the ball was hit, everyone was screaming like a different situation. For the outfield, when the ball was in the outfield, like all the coaches were. Can you talk a little bit about delegating kind of responsibilities to the coaches on your staff, so that somebody might be in charge of the outfielder, somebody might be in charge of this, so that way it's like they're hearing one voice opposed to like,
Definitely.
that one ball that's hitting 4 coaches yelling maybe 4 different things to that player, and
Yeah.
you're like, holy smokes.
It's hard to see the whole game all at once, right? So let's say it's me, Duke, Mikey, and TJ out coaching. Well, Duke's job is going to be to work with the infielders. So he's talking to the infielders about communication, who's got coverage, who's got the bag on a comebacker to the pitcher, all different situations, bunt defenses. He's going to talk to those guys. I might be overseeing the entire game. Mikey's going to call balls or he's going to call pitches to our catcher, and Coach TJ is going to work on the outfielders alignment. I think if you give each coach a specific job, they're locked in on that one area of the field. But if there's 4 coaches in the dugout and everybody's screaming all at once, it's like we say it every week, we're not playing a video game. So we can't just call out, all right, ground ball to the shortstop. Now everybody's yelling. 2 coaches are yelling 1, 2 coaches are yelling 2. Now, the kids are out there, they're freaking out, and they don't really learn the game. They don't understand, what a baseball IQ is. They don't get to read the pace of the ground ball, know the speed of the runner. All those different things, the game within the game, they never really understand because they have 4 coaches constantly screaming out instructions to them. So, it's easy to get confused. It's easy to get overwhelmed, because their parents are screaming from the stands. Their teammates are all yelling. It's almost too many voices at once. So I think delegating one specific job throughout the game to each coach is huge. And I think it helps the coaches too. This way they can really focus on, all right, I got the hitters today. I'm going to talk to the hitters. You're going to work with the infielders. Coach Mike's going to work with the pitchers, and TJ's working with the outfielders. They go into the game, they have a plan, they can meet in between innings, talk about situations. I think you're going to be a lot more productive doing that than everybody trying to manage everything.
The same play happened yesterday. My son Tyler was playing third base. There's runners on first and second. So we said, hey, Tyler, ground ball, step on third, throw it to first, whatever. There was a really fast kid on second. So here comes the ground ball to Tyler. He gets it. The runner's practically right next to him. So Tyler stopped and saw him. The kid started backpedaling. So Tyler then went to go chase him back. So he goes to chase him back to second. Then one of the coaches yelling 1-1-1. Meanwhile, there's now a jam at second base. There's two players there. Tyler's looking, trying to, and then he just takes off and just turns and runs to third base, steps on the base, and got the force out. And it's you told him what to do. He kind of knew it, saw it, but then the distraction of the ball and the runner and him hitting on the brakes just it's real easy for them to just forget, and then and who knows what's going to happen. So like Coach Steve said, you're preparing them before it happens, and then once it happens, it's up to them to figure it out, make the play, and that was an interesting situation. But
it reminds me of yesterday too. We're playing a game, and I think it's the number 12 hitter's up, and you can tell he's way younger and way smaller than everybody else. And it might have even been the coach's son, the way the coach was talking to him. But the kid gets in the batter's box. He only got 2 at-bats the whole game because he's batting last. And he chased the ball in the dirt. And the coach threw his arms up in the air and he screamed at him, "We cannot swing at balls. We cannot swing at balls." And my other coach looked at me. He's like, "That's got to be the coach's son, right?" I'm like, I'm sure. Next pitch, ball's up over his head. And, of course, the kid's nervous. And he chases strike 3. And it just goes back to what we talk about every week, that, practice time is our time, the game time is for the players. So if you see a kid struggling, I don't recommend screaming from the third base coach's box, because that kid looked paranoid. He was so afraid to chase a bad pitch. He was just, doing whatever he could to make contact. And, the kid struck out and got yelled at again. And I felt bad for him because we've all been there. We've been down 0-2, and, we're so afraid to strike out. We forget about competing, and we forget about, looking for a pitch to drive and, having a good 2-strike approach. I think he was so worried about letting his dad down or letting his coach down that, he just got nervous and overwhelmed and chased a pitch way above his head. And I think we have to be aware of that, right? We can't put added pressure on our players. They're nervous enough as it is. All right, we got to equip them at practice with, a good approach and all the tools that they need to be successful. And then in the game, let them play, let them have fun, let them learn and fail. And, from there we can retouch it, the following week at practice. But I'm not a fan of barking out and screaming from the dugout and third base coach's box. I know we want to help, but sometimes we have to take a step back and let the kids play.